Would you like it? Yes.
Since you mentioned that was the original not for very long, but people died. You know about
Good morning. My name is Don Preziosi. Welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, where we covenant to weave together the fabric of community from the strands of our separate lives. We are an inclusive, welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We adhere to the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism, which you can find on the newcomer cards placed on the back of most of the chairs in the sanctuary, and also at the welcome table in the Great Hall. Please feel free to take a card home with you. This is a great time to silence any noise-making devices. I think I should do the same. As we prepare for our morning worship. And now, in the spirit of hospitality, I invite you to greet someone you did not come from this morning. Just kind of stay in your seats, but anybody around you. All right. I want to do a little introduction about today's service. Our fellowship has a long tradition of having lay-led services interspersed with these services from our minister. Normally, we try to have about 1 lay-led service a month. And so today is, as you can see, a lay-led service. Today's service was inspired by the 50th anniversary of the Gay Activists Alliance of Morris County, or GAMAC as they are known. This is particularly significant to our fellowship because for that entire time, we have been the home of GAMAC. Gordon Sauer, a longtime member of GAMAC and the current president, will be telling us more about this during the service. I also want to say that Sarah Matsushima, who grew up in the fellowship, recorded the music that you will hear during the offertory, especially for our service. And one final little announcement, but not a great one, is Judy Romano, who was supposed to be in the service today, is unable to be here because of some recent medical issues. But we were able to record her reflection earlier this week.
Good morning, everyone. I would like you to join me in our chalice lighting. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Hear me? Is this on, Paul? In the meantime, every little child that wants to come up, please join me. I'm really, really nervous to read. This is my first time for all ages, so I would love if you would help me. I'm so nervous. I don't have any kids of my own to practice with, so if every kid could come down and join me, that would be great. And everyone can hear me, right? This is on? Okay, perfect. Oh, hello. Thank you for coming. Yeah, come up here. You see right here? All right. This is a great crowd. I might be even more nervous now. All right, so the book. Oh, we've got a few more. You want to come up? Come on up. Bring your coats. You can get rid of them later. Excellent. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you. So the book that we're going to read today for Time for All Ages is called A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo. I encourage you to look the story of this book up. We're not going to talk about it, but it's a really funny story. Okay. Hello, my name is Marlon Bundo, and I am a bunny. And I live with my mom, grandma, and grandpa in an old stuffy house. This is the story of my very special day. My very special day started out like every other day. I woke up all alone. Then I ate a fine bunny breakfast all alone. That's kind of boring, right? Carrots and lettuce. While I watched the news all alone. You see, sometimes old stuffy houses are also lonely. After breakfast, I hopped to the garden to look at the flowers and say hello down there to the bugs. Hello, Phil. Hello, Dennis. That's when I saw him. He was a big, fluffy bunny with the floppiest floppy ears and the bushiest bushy tail. He was bunny beautiful. I was standing still, but being near him made me feel like my heart was still hopping. I want everyone to see. That's what he looks like. He's very handsome. Can you see? Marlon is the white one. That's Wesley. Well, you're going to find out. Yeah, come on up. My name is Marlon, I said, but my family calls me Botus. It's short for Bunny of the United States. It's a long story. My name is Wesley, and my family calls me Wesley, said Wesley. Wesley and I hopped together all around the garden. We hopped over daisies. We hopped over tiny carrots that weren't ready to grow up and be lunches yet. We hopped over Phil and Dennis. Those are the bugs. Oh, you do have a bunny shirt. Once we had hopped through every part of the garden, we didn't want to stop hopping, so we hopped right inside the old stuffy house. We hopped up and down the creaky stairs and made beautiful creaky stair music together. We hopped through the kitchen and maybe left a few bunny prints. We hopped through very boring meetings with very boring people. It was a very good hop. It was the best hop, and I realized something. When I hopped with Wesley, my old stuffy house didn't feel lonely anymore. At the end of our hop, I said, Wesley, I don't want to hop without you ever again. And Wesley said, that's funny, because I never want to hop without you, Marlon Bundo, ever again. And we both said, we will get married, and we will hop together forever. Hello, everyone, we said to all the animals in the garden. Hello, Phil and Dennis, the bugs, and Pumpernickel, who is a badger, and Scooter, who is a turtle, and Dill Prickle, who is a hedgehog, and Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog. Hello, all of you. We are getting married so we can hop together forever. Hooray, said Phil and Dennis, the bugs, and Pumpernickel, who is a badger, and Scooter, who is a turtle, and Dill Prickle, who is a hedgehog, and Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog. Hooray, said all of our friends, because that's what friends say. Wait, said a scary voice, you can't get married. We looked around and saw that the very scary voice was coming from the stink bug. Let me tell you a little bit about the stink bug. The stink bug was in charge. He was important. None of the other animals could quite work out why he was in charge or how he was important, but he was. And that meant he made the rules. That meant all the animals listened to him, even though he was, and this is true, very stinky. Boy bunnies don't marry boy bunnies, said the stink bug. Boy bunnies have to marry girl bunnies. But this is the bunny I love, said Wesley. And this is the bunny I love, said Marlon Bundo. Just being next to Wesley made me a little braver. Too bad, said the stink bug. I am the stinkiest and I am important. I am the stinkiest and I am in charge. Boy bunnies marry girl bunnies marry boy bunnies. This is the way it has always been. You are different and different is bad. The other animals whispered nervously amongst themselves. Pumpernickel, who is a badger, came forward. Oh, I'm different too, he said. I eat my sandwich's crust first. I'm different too, said Dill Prickle, who is a hedgehog. I read the ends of books before I read the beginnings, just to make sure they're not too sad for me. I'm different too, said Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog. Sometimes I sniff butts and I don't know why. Everyone is different, and different is not bad, said Scooter, who is a turtle. Different is special. Wait, said Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog and also a very smart dog. Wait a minute, we get to decide who is in charge. We get to decide who is important. We can vote. And on this very special day, all the animals voted on who they wanted to have in charge. They chose, what do you think? Not the stink bug. Hooray, said me, Marlon Bundo. Hooray, said Wesley. Hooray, said all of our friends, because that is what friends say. No, boomed the stink bug. Boy bunnies can't marry boy bunnies. You are not in charge. So Wesley and I got married, and we had 2 handsome groom's otters named Muffins and Cubby, and a flower mouse named Hiccup. We ate and drank and danced the hokey pokey. Dill Prickle was especially good. And the ceremony was performed by a cat named Pajama, who brought her wife as a date. After we ate and drank and danced, we went home together. We went to have some sleep, We have to get some sleep, Marlin. Tomorrow we leave on our bunny moon. Because it doesn't matter if you love a girl bunny or a boy bunny or eat your sandwich backwards or forwards. Stink bugs are temporary, but love is forever. What do you guys think? I love your bunny shirt. All right, you guys can head back to your seats, and we're going to do a hymn. Okay, I think it's 138. Okay, go ahead back.
318.
318.
318, we would be one.
We would be one. Please stand as you're willing and able.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Gordon Sauer. I'm president of GAMIC, and I was at the Metropolitan Opera last night, and I left my voice there. So if I sound a little gravelly, that's why. But if you go to the Met, you can hear me, hear my voice at least. But I wanted to give you a little bit of history about GAMIC. And at 50, GAMIC, which is the Gay Activist Alliance in Morris County, we are the oldest LGBTQ plus organization in New Jersey and one of the oldest in the country. And we were actually founded in September 1972. And we've met nearly every Monday evening since then, right here at the Unitarian Fellowship. Now, back in 1972, things were really different for New Jersey's LGBTQ plus community, if you could even call it a community at that time. Very few people were open about who they were, and there were very few organizations, most of which were quite difficult to find. It was only, after all, 3 years after the Stonewall riots, which was the event that today is recognized as the start of the modern LGBTQ+ movement. Now, GAMIC started slowly, holding weekly meetings that were mainly discussion groups at first. Soon there were varied weekly programs, speakers, socials, films, dinners, that kind of thing. There were also activities outside of Monday night meetings, and anything that people coming through the door wanted or needed, we tried to provide, and we still do. For 5 decades, GAMIC has worked to support LGBTQ+ people and their rights. Back in 1984, we joined the Committee to End Discrimination, whose mission was to amend the state's laws against discrimination to include protection for sexual orientation. And this struggle was ultimately successful when the law was enacted in December 1991 and when gender identity was added in 1996. Now, one of our most active leaders, who some of you who are longtime members here might remember, his name was David Morris, and he was a fellowship member. He was closely involved in this struggle, and he also worked to ensure that LGBT people were treated fairly by the police. So back in 2004, we campaigned hard for the passage of the Domestic Partnership Law, which made New Jersey one of the first states to recognize same-sex unions. And soon after that, GAMIC members returned to Trenton, lobbying for marriage equality and attending committee meetings with other LGBTQ+ organizations. And this effort resulted in obtaining the right to civil unions in 2006. And we also supported full marriage equality, which was eventually realized in 2013 throughout the nation with the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in the United States versus Edie Windsor. So GAMIC's membership and attendance grew in the late 80s. We used to have, way back when, 400 members and a weekly attendance here of 200. I cannot tell you, the entire building was filled. By the end of the 90s, however, the popularity of the internet meant that people no longer had the need to be in specific places to meet others. And so the attendance of all LGBTQ+ organizations and clubs began to wane. Many of them closed their doors, but GAMIC, while small, adapted, and we have survived. As times and needs have changed, GAMIC has also changed to meet those needs. Although our attendance is still small, we still meet regularly on Monday, we still have a lot of activities, and we also have in-person and we have on Wednesday Zoom meetings, which provide a safe space for the community with speakers, socials, films, dinners, workshops, and group discussions. Now, as everybody knows, and you can see from what was up here before, GAMIC recently celebrated its 50th anniversary with an all-in-person dinner. It was a wonderful event which gave people from all different GAMIC eras to reconnect and celebrate the contribution that GAMIC had made to their lives. And all of this has been accomplished by volunteers out of a spirit of love and community. For over 5 decades, GAMIC has provided services and support for our community, and we are thankful to you, the members of the fellowship, for the love and support you have given us. Thank you so much. Thanks.
When my wife and I lived in the city, we had gay coworkers, neighbors, and many gay friends. But in 1984, when we moved here, apparently there were no gay people in New Jersey. When I joined the fellowship in 1986, I discovered otherwise. On Monday nights, seemingly hundreds of gay people took over our building. I was pleasantly surprised to learn that MUUF had been providing this safe haven for GAMIC since 1972, despite Morris Township opposition in the very beginning. In 1988, our minister, Paul Ratzlaff, at the suggestion from a gay member, offered to start a discussion group with interested members of GAMIC and gay and straight members of our community. We met monthly to discuss our own histories, gay-straight relations, and homophobia. We called ourselves Mixed Company, and we became activists by offering informative books to every library in Morris County, contributing to the AIDS Quilt Project, and marching as Mixed Company in the 1990 New York City Gay Pride Parade, quite an event for us, and the first Gay Pride Parade in New Jersey. We also had lots of fun partying, picnicking, and attending each other's events. During this time, the 1989 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association voted to initiate a program called Welcoming Congregation, a flexible and voluntary program to educate members about the negative attitudes, deep prejudices, and ignorance about gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. This minority has traditionally been excluded from, misrepresented, and discriminated against by society at large and most religious institutions. The Welcoming Congregation program was offered for congregations that wanted to become more inclusive. This seemed like a perfect opportunity for MUUF because although GAMIC met here, on Sunday mornings for gay members of our congregation, don't ask, don't tell was the norm. Mixed Company and others from MUUF formed a committee to implement the requirements for becoming an official welcoming congregation. These included educational workshops, speakers at MUUF and GAMIC, Sunday programs, bylaw changes, outreach, and recognition and celebration of gay lives. Although this was a big project, our committee felt confident that if we fulfilled our requirements, we could easily achieve the necessary congregational approval. Unfortunately, there was a very small but very vocal group that was dead set against this. However, more troubling was a survey we did that showed that almost half of the congregation didn't think it was necessary because MUUF already welcomed everyone. What they didn't realize was that saying you welcome everyone is not the same as making everyone feel welcome. With my naive enthusiasm as a recent convert to UU, I felt disillusioned by any resistance. I had been enthusiastic about Unitarian Universalism precisely because of its strong record of taking the right stand on the moral and ethical issues that have confronted our society for the last 2 centuries. Yet my own congregation was in conflict over what seemed to me like absolutely the right thing to do. We needed to make it very clear to both the wider gay and straight community where we stood on this important social issue, and that we could help counter the prevailing attitudes of most mainstream religions. 2.5 years after we started, our committee pushed for a congregational vote. By now, we knew it would easily pass, but our minister was reluctant to proceed until we had virtually unanimous support. We convinced our board that not voting was creating more dissension than a vote would. More than 95% voted in favor of declaring Morristown Unitarian Fellowship a welcoming congregation. We did lose some members, but we did the right thing. And we continued on this path during the ministry of Allison Miller by standing on the side of love and becoming known locally for the leadership we have taken on many social issues. Today, UU ministers and congregations everywhere are in the forefront of celebrating gay marriages, ordaining gay ministers, and publicly supporting our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. I am proud to be a UU. And now, all the children, if they would head to their RE classes. Now is the time in our service where we give and receive our weekly offering. We believe that generosity changes lives. It changes lives of the people in our community, and it changes our own lives. Every week, 50% of the offering goes to support our good work here at the fellowship, and 50% goes to support the good work of nonprofit organizations in our community, our wider world. Our offering today will be split 50-50 with the Trevor Project. The project is a nonprofit organization dedicated to preventing suicide among young members of the LGBTQIA+ community who are struggling with the issues of coming out, identity, and depression. You can donate via text to give number at 73256 with the keyword MUUF followed by the dollar amount, or you can give online at our webpage.
When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step behind the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why? Then why?
Now is the time in the service when we share the deeply important personal milestones that have happened during the week. Know that we are your community. If you have a serious need or have suffered a personal tragedy, we want to help. If you have a new member in your family or other personal joy, we are eager for the chance to celebrate with you. I don't have any particular milestones that were handed to me, but I do wanted to mention, earlier I mentioned that Judy Romano's absence. Judy has experienced a series of minor strokes. She spent several days in the hospital and is now home, but is still undergoing tests to find the cause of these strokes. I'm sure Judy is watching at home with us today, and I just want to let her know that we all send our prayers, thoughts, and support her way. Bear in mind that not everyone wants to express their joys or concerns publicly. And so at this moment, I'd just like to take a moment of silence, because I know there are probably people in our community who can use our support. Okay.
Okay, this is an abridged version of a queer prayer written after the mass murder at Club Q in Colorado Springs by Reverend Ashley Horan. To our beloved trans and queer family, if your heart is broken, we weep with you. May you sense how fiercely you are held in love. If your fists are frozen in rage, we scream with fury alongside of you. May you be warmed by the white-hot heat of our righteous solidarity. If your stomach drops with terror, we tremble with you. May you feel the strength of the safety we wrap around one another. If your bones are weary, we sink down next to you. May deep rest be the companion of your grief. And beloveds, remember, even on the todays, the mornings when mourning our dead and fearing for our lives is the metallic aftertaste on our tongues, we still dance because the surging electric life force that loved us into being and that pulses through our veins is too powerful to stay inert and unmoving. How could we be still? We still sing because the defiant hymns of our ancestors reverberate in the tiniest interstices between our cells. How can we keep from singing? We still congregate because, like root systems and constellations and watersheds, the molecules of our being only make sense when we are intertwined and inseparable and powerfully free in our interdependence. How could we do other than to claim and choose each other every day? We dance our resistance, we sing our belovedness, we gather each other up, and we do not let go. As is our vow today and all days, we will mourn the dead and fight like hell for the living. And all the while we will repeat this truth till it is lodged in our bones and undisputed anywhere. We were meant for life, for abundance, for freedom. We were made for joy.
Hello again. I'm back with a personal reflection. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why this particular building, this particular place means so much to me. I was just thinking about it, and I said, my God, I even know how the light switches work here. It's like, wow, how'd that ever happen? So way back when, in 1978, I returned from living abroad and was unsure of myself in many, many areas. I was 26, I had been trained to be an educator, and I was looking for a teaching job. Additionally, after a long struggle, I had recently accepted my sexuality as a gay man, but I wasn't open to anybody about it, so what should I do? Well, back in the 70s, the main and practically the only way to meet people was through the bars, and so I arrived on the barroom scene, not with a bang, but more of a whimper, and mostly in New York City, but also sometimes in New Jersey. And although I did meet people and make a couple of friends, I really wanted something more. And then one day, I got a call from a friend in Philadelphia saying that she was going to be going to a gay picnic in northern New Jersey and asked if I could join her. I said yes, and so I went. And I can still remember being totally shocked to find over 300 people there. And one of the first times I had ever been in such a large group of LGBTQ plus individuals. I can still close my eyes, and again, this is like 42 plus years or 44 years, and I can still remember that very moment. And then came an event that changed my world. A person announced that the picnic had been sponsored by GAMIC, an organization that met on Monday nights at Morristown Unitarian Fellowship. And the person who made the announcement, who became a friend of mine, is still today. But I remember when he made it, all I could say was, oh my God, there's a gay group meeting in Morristown and I live here. Oh my Lord. And so I decided to attend. I walked through that front door of the fellowship and was struck by how home-like the building appeared. It appeared to me to be as much a home as a place of worship. And I immediately felt drawn to it as a place where I could meet people, possibly be my full self, and feel appreciated for who I was. And so it happened. I started regularly attending, and over the years I made new friends, a number of whom are close friends of mine today. I also met two people who changed my life. In 1980, I was in the terrace room, and I can actually show you on those little insignias or those little things in the floor where you see, you know, the whatever it's called there. I can tell you which one it was where I met in 1980 a gentleman by the name of Anthony. And we went on a date, and we were together for the following 13 years. Then, in 1993, I met a man named Javier. And I met him on the front porch. Unfortunately, it's not the same front porch that's there now. It's been renovated, but that's okay. We forgive you. And we became friends and started dating in 1994, and we've been together ever since. And then there are the friends I met in this building, a number of whom I've known for over 40 years. I'm thinking of my friend Jim, Randy, Mickey, whose picture was on. He's one of the founders of GAMIC. And of course, my dear friend David Morris. And also a couple of friends who are here today, just to name a few. Hi. So this wonderful building has provided me with so much in my life. Love, family, friends, safety, support, understanding. That's just to name a few things. Indeed, walking through that front door changed my life. And I just want to thank you for making that all possible. Because of GAMIC and because of the fellowship, my life has fundamentally changed over 42 years. And I so look forward to the adventures that will be coming up next time when I walk through that door. Thank you very much.
We're not the same. We don't all wear uniforms that makes us the same. We are an individual with minds and feelings and thoughts that are distinctly ours. And when we share it with others, as far as love is love and hate is hate. But as long as love will always conquer hate. And most women of color, trans women of color, I felt safer much more back then than I do today. You know, they're wasting their minds by all this hatred and all this negative energy when there's so much beauty out there. Just being accepted, not tolerated, accepted. I'm here. I'm not going no place. We've always been here.
This clip from the documentary titled Pieces of Us is an interview with Victoria Cruz, a gay rights icon, recipient of an award for advocacy, and a survivor of Stonewall and some severe beatings. How is it that a woman who has experienced such tragedies in the past feels less safe now? After all, haven't there been advances made in civil rights for the LGBT plus community? Looking for answers, I decided to revisit the many interactions I have had with this community over my 75 years. Today, I would like to tell you about two relationships that stood out. At first sight, my 2.5-year-old cousin claimed this newborn as his baby. That began a lifelong yin-yang relationship. Together, our two halves made one whole. Unfortunately, this ended when my cousin died of pneumonia at 59. He was HIV positive. What I remembered the most was his elusive quest for acceptance and respect. Back then, it did not matter how well educated or accomplished you were. In order to advance in business or military career, you needed to be a straight male. Having a beard, which is slang for a female decoy, did nothing to alleviate the fear of being outed and having a career sidelined, if not completely destroyed. What makes today less safe? Several weeks ago, I heard the phrase normalization of hate in a discussion about violence in our society. It seems to me that this is hardly a new idea. In order to secure the position at the top of the pyramid, those in power have sought to normalize hate since the 1600s. Have they finally succeeded? The second relationship that stood out for me is the one I have with my brother, a transgender gay male. He transitioned during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Over the ensuing years, I've noticed changes in his demeanor that appear to correspond to changing social attitudes and political stances. Today, he seems to be less trusting and more guarded about who he comes out to and how he does it. During some of our recent conversations, he has assured me that he's being very cautious by avoiding public gay pride events, except for those held in the safe confines of his apartment complex. However, one of his favorite things is attending dances at a gay club, which he assures me is a safe place. Why do I not find this comforting? I fear for my brother. As much as I want to protect him, I can't. I feel so helpless. Now, I know that there are folks attending this service in person and online who share my feelings. What can we do as individuals to protect our loved ones? Nothing. But if we join forces with other like-minded individuals, we might just find a way to stop the vicious assaults on our beloveds. A group of us decided that it was time to reestablish our ties with GAMIC. GAMIC's board agreed. Thus was born the GAMIC MUUF Alliance. This group is so young, we're still in our exploratory stage. We're not quite sure how we're going to do what we need to do, but at least we're doing something. You can find out more about the Alliance by following us in MUUF's newsletter articles, email blasts, on our Facebook page, and by talking with our members. Can we count on your support? Even if you can't volunteer, emotional support goes a long way. Let us know that our efforts matter. Will you join us in siding with love against hate? Thank you for listening.
I have been coming to the fellowship for over 10 years now. I started attending when I was 21, and my main purpose was to meet young people. I had started my first post-college career, but I'd moved back home to pay off the student loans that I had accrued. And at the time, most of my coworkers were in their 40s, kind of boring, and I was living in a town meant for families. I felt like I was in a young adult desert all by myself. I wanted to date, but I didn't do online dating or any of the apps. I always felt that I would meet someone organically, doing something I loved. I felt like I would meet a person with common interests and shared passions. Being an active person, I joined an adult kickball team and flag football team, as well as 2 different gyms. I hiked nearly every weekend with my dogs, hoping I would encounter young people on the trail. It wasn't working. So I thought I might need a different approach. I thought to myself, I'll try to find someone who is also social justice minded, someone who cares about diversity, someone who works towards equity. I knew about Unitarian Universalism, and so I did my first Google exploration of MUUF and decided to attend on the incoming Sunday in 2012 for selfish reasons, to meet young people. Well, the first two people I met were Joe Erhane and Susan Oxman, who are absolutely lovely, and I look back at those interactions fondly, but respectfully, they had officially aged out of the young adult parameters. Anyway, a little while after my first visit to the fellowship, my love life did indeed get a boost when I met a very nice guy. I dated that man for a little more than 2 blissful years, but I didn't feel like we were growing together. So I ended the relationship in mid-March 2016. But I'd been tied up in that relationship for about 2 years. And so once we parted and I had time to myself, I pledged I was gonna date a lot of guys before committing to the next one. I was single and I was ready to mingle, and I was definitely not looking for love. And many of you might be confused right now. So was I. 52 days after that breakup, I met Candace, spoiler alert, my now wife, for the very first time. I can't say it was love at first sight because I wasn't gay. I had never dated a woman, she's never heard this yet, so, or even been interested in one. But the more time I spent with her, the more attracted to her I became. I was smitten with how she walked, her cute Canadian accent, how jovial she was, how she hated peppers but loved cheap beers. I was so confused. I am not gay, I kept telling myself. I didn't want to be different. I didn't want my identity to change. I didn't want to come out to myself. Over the next year, I felt tortured by this realization and my desire not to be gay. I went to 2 different therapists. One said she couldn't help me with this issue, but she could refer me to someone else. Another one asked me, "Aren't you a little too old to be realizing you're gay?" I was 26. I can't fully explain to you how terribly lonely that period of my life was. I eventually told 2 people what I was struggling with. MUUF members Mindy and Jana supported me and helped me immeasurably. Mindy had said, in the beginning, it's really, really hard to come out. It's harder to come out to friends and family than it is to strangers. But once you come out to someone, you don't have to ever do it again. And slowly your web of people that know you're gay grows little by little, and then eventually one day, you won't mind coming out because you'll come out nearly every day of your life. Look at me now. I knew that I had a safe space at the fellowship, and it was the first place that I felt like I had sanctuary when I was struggling with the discovery of my true self. I felt like these people wouldn't care if I reintroduced myself as a queer person. I knew it wouldn't change the way that people felt about me. I knew I would still be welcome here. During the year of struggling with my identity, Candace and I remained friends, but I told her repeatedly I'm not gay. But I was just and only attracted to her, and so it was an odd fluke and not real, and I'm not sure why it felt that way. But Candace pared away at me. Eventually, I did realize that I wanted her in my life, and I had to allow myself to accept myself as gay. And I only was able to do that because I already had so many people around me that had accepted me. I started the process of coming out, and I started it right here at MUUF. I wasn't afraid to bring Candace with me to services or events. It was a place where we could be and where we could be together. I started using the fellowship as a place to practice coming out. It was the first place that I shared this most intimate and vulnerable detail about myself. I could introduce Candace as my girlfriend, and I wasn't questioned, interrogated, made to feel unwelcome. Rather, I felt seen and validated. It was because of this intrinsically welcoming and supportive environment that you all knew about Candace before some of my friends and family. This community allowed me to develop and grow then, and even still today. Even though I first arrived as a somewhat established 20-something, I was given the space to grow, change, reflect, and learn about myself, not with judgment, but with love. I'm eternally grateful to all of you that graced me with the community of love. Thank you. And our next hymn is 1014. Is that correct? Please stand if you're willing and able.
Gordon and Hav and Candace and Brooke, if you join us on stage. The fellowship and GAMIC have a shared history and a shared future of standing on the side of dignity and worth of all. Let us hold this in our hearts as we continue on our journey together. We were all meant for life, for love, for freedom. We were all made for joy.
And you kept the beat, even if your fingers were like, oh my God. Are you okay? Can I get you anything? Are you all right? Yeah, just chill. Look, that's a nice service. And we know that. We got you. It's good to see you, George. I think everybody should know him. Yeah, you know what? I think I need to get back to lessons with my piano teacher, if that's the case. I did years